Hello, this is Pixie doing another video. So basically I've been doing some work. I think I'm looking at this Universal Soldier stuff. Now I was watching some videos. I was watching some videos on YouTube, and it went into some detail about it, and then I went off and I had this dream, and I had this, well, basically there's experiences in my past when I was a child that I can't fully explain, like visitations at night from beings, and then there's some of these other weird sort of memories, but I'm just trying to unlock it. So, you know, it's like in your conscious, it just floats up, but it's not necessarily grounded. So I know there's some kind of base or something in Arizona, some underground base. I might have been something like a biotechnician or biophysician or something. Let's adjust that a little bit better. So I wasn't a soldier, but I was working with soldiers, and I might have been working if I was out there in the field. However, there was some very sort of strange. Well, basically, what I had is I had this dream, and it was like some sort of recall of some kind, and I saw myself taking this guy back to having. He got injected with something, and he was going to get put through a reprogramming, and it was a form of hypnosis. Put mind patches in there, so you can have sort of like functional switches in the host's mind. And so I was taking him back there, but I was trying to figure out why would I be there, and you know, how would I be there? And then I got this information that I was a part of a Class D cyborg program. I think D stands for Delta, and what it would do anyway in the app thing, but something else in relation to like Section Delta or something. And so I was taking someone back, and I did actually ask in the dream. I was asking him about that, and he was saying he was getting some sort of. I'm going back to get conditions or something. So he's got other things in there. And he got injected with something as well. And I got just trying to visualise. So the sky, yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't it appears to be an Earth base. But the cyborg, so how that works is there's other stuff, you know, some people get brain tumours and you get like a growth in there. Well, there's another way of having implants where they're not cybernetic attachments or nanotech intravenous feeds and other things, so you can inject nanobots into someone. Builds the processor inside their body, and the other one might be a direct implant. So they're easy to pick up implants, but if you've got nanobot tech, you can basically shift it around, and if it does get scanned, it can respond to that as well. They just basically go offline, and you'll just pick it up as a kind of because basically the sensor scanners can only go so far into the body, and it will just come up as being like a trace heavy metal or something. So there's that, but there's also what they call Chromus plant implants, and universal syncretizer or something, and the chromium. So chromium, or it will to do with chromosomes. So you grow the processor organically that interfeeds into the subject, and so I'm trying to pull this entity out so I can communicate through him. Yes, and there's a robotic part of it as well. So it's so there's basically a cyborg interfaced. There's also reptilian, so they use the reptilian part genetically, and it's because of the regenerative abilities both in the nerve clusters and cells, and tissue regeneration. in the same way that they can also use insectoids, and they can use them because they don't bleed like we do. So if you had major work and you basically graft a lot of biotech into them, the chance of survival is pretty good, and the rejection rate is low on insects, because their immune system is different. The reptilians can be a bit more aggressive, their immune system. So yeah, it's a few different ways it copes, but it regenerates to compensate that. But if you've got biotech in you, you don't want it to be attacked and drop off, and then body tries to regenerate. So they use the cells, but you can also make these chimera cells, and I think they're called lysins. Lysins, and they're kind of like some kind of chimera lizard people in that cellular tissue. In that you can take the cell, so you've got the mitochondrial cell, and then you insert human DNA into it, and so you create something that looks like a green humanoid. So I don't know what this being would look like. Oh, crumbs! I think I can sort of visualise what it would look like. And it can also, the only thing as well is the bodies have got a limited time. They probably last about 5 years max, and they can be frozen. And this the other thing about the grafting. So if you take the stem cells from the human being and you introduce it into some brain matter, you regenerate the hosts. It's almost like a small tumor, brain tumor, and then you implant that into the being, and then you wire it up to their cortex. And the reason is because of the human intelligence is different, and it also means you can use something more primitive, and it will be controlled by something a bit more advanced because we're more passive. And there's another thing is that we can basically process commands. We've got a herd mentality, and some beings haven't. They can swarm, but they might have some other issues there. They're not, social structure might be slightly different. And about the soul as well. So there's something to do with Gaia, the energy given off there, and to do with the human frequency of the spirit. So you're kind of drawn to the source. So Gaia's part source of the human soul, and so by having a human part of the entity, it is a way to channel energy to heal it. And then basically the reptilian, the reptile DNA on this planet and the insect DNA isn't the same as what they're grafted in there. There's something about they call them the sculptors, or the architects, or the engineers, and there was things brought to this planet that were made, but they're uniquely made, and there's some variations that are out there as well. So what is it like painting? Possibly. I mean, can you take a being and take them to a different star system without there being an issue? Yeah, it's kind of like a reboot. What about humans and long distance transport? Yeah, they are tethered to worlds. But I think what happens is that we would degrade if we're away from Earth for too long. So we might be tied to this planet physically. I mean, the only way to do that is to transfer the consciousness of that being into another entity. So this is why some of this implanting stuff needs to occur, because some beings can't survive. And I think maybe the greys, they've tried to compensate by that by making themselves more synthetic, but they sometimes lack a soul component because of that separation from their planet. Planet's like the heart of them. It creates that life force. And also it's a part of this program, the Matrix. So what can I see? I can see the world, and I can see the world as a kind of shape, like it's on like an older computer, a geometric shape, but it's not a sphere. It's got those are flat edges, like a football or something, but it's got more flatter edges than that, and it is projecting outside of that. So there's some kind of almost like some tech inside the planet. That's something that's very different. And there's some kind of, to do the platonics, like shields or something. So it depends what Gaia is. We have to have. I'm wondering about this. So potentially Gaia can, if the planet was badly damaged, it actually could transform into something else. So it's like it's got a transformer inside it. The platonic shell. Yeah, you'll just get like a giant orb in the middle of it, and it basically would hold on to the essence of the planet, and then it could implant itself into another world and start a cycle of life. Basically, it's like some big orb inside it. I don't know. I want to see these pictures and images. I'm just sort of running with what's coming in. But I would like to do a bit more research. I mean, I can't 100% believe that stuff that's been projected in my mind is true, because there are other forms of agents that would implant knowledge in there that doesn't belong. But it's very interesting stuff. And I seem to feel that I have a knowledge of some of this technology, but there's also that there's a bridge between some of what's being created. And I think little things in my life have been put in there to guide me into something more unique. I don't know. There's something I'll have to do a little experiment with that. So I hope that doesn't sound too bizarre, but it's just universal soldiers. So they must be universal scientists. That's what they are. Anyway, speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.